We've got some tough contracts and there's no magic bullet for that. We're going to have to work our way through some of those tough contracts, shared Boeing's newly appointed CEO, Kelly Ortberg. And their solution to these challenges? A bold move to sell off their space business. Yes, Boeing is looking to completely divest their iconic Starliner program, a decision that underscores the gravity of their current situation. Let's find out everything in today's episode. Boeing is in a severe financial crisis. Looking at the numbers, the picture is bleak. Since 2019, Boeing has been drowning in a staggering $32 billion loss. Although losses narrowed somewhat in 2023, every indicator in 2024 is trending in the wrong direction, showing that the company is still far from climbing out of this financial quagmire. According to Kelly Ortberg, in the first quarter of 2024 alone, Boeing reported a $6.2 billion loss. The ambitious Starliner project, though just one part of Boeing's overall business, continues to burn money at the rate of hundreds of millions each quarter. Many still believe a company of Boeing's scale and legacy can't possibly fail. But the reality is that Boeing is now a high-profile but unprofitable corporation, the result of years of inefficient management, especially under CEOs who were financially minded but lacked the technical expertise to guide the company forward. When a company faces a crisis, it restructures, and that's exactly what Boeing's current CEO is doing. Kelly Ortberg, a new CEO with over 30 years of industry experience and a solid engineering background, is now wrestling with the mess left by his predecessor, Calhoun. Calhoun made a series of poor decisions throughout his tenure at Boeing, only to step down when the company was at its lowest point, leaving Kelly Ortberg feeling like little more than a scapegoat. When Kelly Ortberg took the CEO seat at Boeing, his first move was a sweeping, surgical overhaul, reviewing every business area, program, and contract within the company. This was an urgent effort to salvage a sinking ship, yet restoring public trust while maintaining financial stability without compromising safety standards is an enormous years-long challenge. And with Boeing hemorrhaging money as it is, they don't have the funds to tackle it. In a notable statement, Ortberg admitted a harsh reality. "We signed up to some things that are problematic." He also stated, "I think we'd be better off doing less but doing it well, instead of taking on more and not doing it well." Boeing's situation now is like a withering body. The failing programs are like necrotic tissue that needs to be cut off to save what's left. Consequently, they've decided to put the Starliner program up for sale, a once iconic project that represented Boeing's space ambitions. This decision came just 2 months after Starliner returned empty from the International Space Station, ISS. Although NASA and Boeing continue to hold joint meetings and discuss corrective measures for Starliner, don't be mistaken, these are mandatory standards, not indicators of a bright future for the project. These actions are simply procedural requirements. The tragic crashes of the 737 MAX in 2018 and 2019, along with a door blowing off mid-flight on a 737 MAX 9 in January 2024, have severely damaged Boeing's reputation. In light of these events, Starliner's CFT-1 was seen as a critical chance to redeem Boeing's plummeting image and restore its position to compete with SpaceX in the space race. But things didn't go as planned. Instead, Starliner pushed public criticism of Boeing to a whole new level. The numbers tell a story. Boeing received a colossal $4.2 billion investment from NASA to develop the Starliner spacecraft, while rival SpaceX was awarded only $2.6 billion for its Crew Dragon project. That's a $1.6 billion gap, with NASA initially viewing Crew Dragon as merely a backup to Starliner. But sometimes, less funding doesn't mean less effective. Crew Dragon has carried astronauts to the ISS 4 years ahead of Starliner and set an impressive record: 43 successful flights to the ISS, transporting both crew and cargo for NASA. Meanwhile, Starliner can currently only bring 2 NASA astronauts to the ISS without the capability to return them safely to Earth. Boeing is left needing help from none other than its competitor, SpaceX's Dragon, to finish its own mission. A mighty empire has indeed fallen to such a point. As of now, no one knows just how far Boeing has come in addressing Starliner's technical issues. Beyond leaked discussions, there's been no information on the spacecraft's fate. However, its ability to conduct flights to the ISS is quite doubtful, as Elon Musk has just pointed out. There is no logical purpose to Starliner, given that NASA plans to deorbit space station in 5 years. It's not out of the question that Boeing might abandon ship and sell Starliner off, unresolved issues and all, to another party. Kelly Ortberg has stated that Boeing would hold on to its core business lines, including commercial aviation and military systems. However, he hasn't clarified which programs will be cut or discontinued. Behind these vague statements, though, a clear strategy is emerging. Boeing may be preparing to drop troubled fixed-price contracts, like Starliner, while focusing on lucrative cost-plus programs, notably NASA's Space Launch System, SLS. SLS is a prime example of how Boeing still profits from slow-moving projects. Since its start in 2011, SLS has completed just one successful launch, the uncrewed Artemis 1 flight on November 16, 2022, after over a decade in development. Spiraling development costs and massive delays have caused budget overruns. Yet, ironically, this works in Boeing's favor. The longer the program stretches, the more it profits. On the flip side, this strains NASA's budget. NASA officials have had to publicly admit that this rocket is too costly to effectively support the Artemis lunar exploration program. According to a recent report from the Government Accountability Office, GAO, senior NASA officials have admitted, at current cost levels, the SLS program is unsustainable. NASA had set ambitious goals to use the SLS as a national strategic space capability for at least the next 30 years. But here's the point. Each SLS launch costs over $2 billion, a staggering price by any measure. Moreover, the SLS is built as a single-use system. While its engines are technically reusable, every launch sends them to the bottom of the ocean, and each engine alone costs around $140 million. At these cost levels, the SLS program just isn't sustainable. NASA's Space Launch System, SLS rocket, stands as a stark reminder of how ambitious space projects can spiral far beyond their original promises. When the project was announced in 2011, it was promoted as a technological marvel that would return humans to the moon with a modest estimated cost of $10 billion and a completion date by the end of 2016. One of the key architects behind this vision was Florida Senator Bill Nelson, who staked his reputation on this grand ambition. "If we can't make a rocket for $11.5 billion, we should just shut it down," Nelson confidently declared at the time. He campaigned tirelessly to channel billions of dollars into upgrading the Kennedy Space Center's ground systems in his home state, preparing it to support the massive SLS rocket. But what happened in reality? Boeing, the project's main contractor, encountered wave after wave of technical obstacles. Design, production, and testing issues emerged repeatedly, sending costs skyrocketing and launch dates slipping further into the future. These delays eroded public confidence in NASA and Boeing's ability to manage such a high-stakes project. Now, after more than a decade and over $30 billion spent on the SLS and its ground systems, NASA hasn't shut down the project, as Nelson once suggested. In a twist of irony, Nelson himself now heads NASA, facing the uncomfortable reality that the program he once championed has become one of the most infamous examples of budget overruns in space exploration history. NASA is currently working so hard to find a market for the SLS. The more SLS launches, the more it needs to be produced. If they can sell it, they, Boeing and Northrop, get more flow through the factory, which drives down our recurring engineering costs, said Jim Free, former head of NASA's Space Exploration Division overseeing the Artemis program, in an interview. "We've mapped a path to get there, but we need them to engage and agree with that map. You think Boeing will go along with it?" Overall, Boeing's space projects are plagued with issues. The coming months will be a decisive period for the company. With restructuring efforts underway and technical leadership at the helm, can this industry giant reclaim its standing? Or will it serve as a cautionary tale of an industrial empire's fall from grace, a company that was once the pride of American aerospace? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Boeing's story will be discussed for years to come as a powerful lesson in corporate governance and the critical balance between profit and a company's core values.